Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes we get stuck in this cycle where we feel the need to explain ourselves, our actions, our decisions, and our choices to others. It can feel like we owe the world an explanation for every little thing we do. But what if I told you that you don't have to explain yourself to anyone? What if I told you that you are enough just as you are, and your worth doesn't need validation from anyone else? The reality is, most of the time, when we explain ourselves too much, we're trying to seek approval. We're trying to make others see us in the way we want to be seen. But here's the truth: you don't need to explain who you are, why you did something, or why you believe in something to anyone who doesn't understand you. You are not obligated to explain every decision or action. It is one of the most liberating truths you can embrace. From the moment you start living for yourself, you stop needing to explain every little thing you do. Think about it. How many times have you found yourself explaining why you did something just to make someone else feel comfortable or validated? It's exhausting, isn't it? Every time we do this, we are allowing other people's opinions and judgments to have too much influence over our lives. And let's be honest, not everyone is going to understand or agree with what we do, no matter how much we explain ourselves. It's just a fact of life. The truth is, you don't need to justify your actions to anyone. Your decisions belong to you, and you are the only one who knows your reasons for making them. Whether it's choosing a career path, making personal choices, or pursuing a dream, it's your life. You're not obligated to explain why you're doing what you're doing to anyone. And the sooner you stop trying to, the more peaceful and empowered you'll feel. In our world, we often get caught up in this idea of making everyone else comfortable with our choices. But it's time to let go of that need. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your thoughts, your dreams, or the direction in which you're headed. You are the only person who truly understands your journey, and if someone doesn't get it, that's okay. You don't have to explain. Instead, trust in your own decisions and be confident in the path you've chosen. When you stop explaining yourself, you begin to experience a shift in how you see your own power. You become less reliant on others' approval and more focused on your own internal compass. The constant need for validation fades away. You stop questioning yourself and start trusting your instincts. That is the beauty of embracing this mindset. When you stop explaining yourself, you stop seeking approval, and that's when you start owning your life fully and completely. You might be thinking, but isn't it important to explain myself sometimes? Of course, there are times when explanations are necessary, like in situations where clarity is required. But let's be clear, there is a difference between offering an explanation and constantly justifying your existence. Offering clarity is one thing, but needing approval for your very being is another. The key is to know when to stand your ground, when to assert your boundaries, and when to stop talking and start living. Ultimately, it's about self-respect. When you explain yourself too much, it often comes from a place of self-doubt or fear of rejection. You want to make sure that everyone around you is okay with your choices, which can be draining and, in many cases, unnecessary. The people who truly care for you will understand you without the need for constant explanation. They will see your heart, your intentions, and your truth, without the need for you to explain every little thing. By no means is this about being rude or dismissive. It's about finding peace in your own decisions. It's about feeling secure in the knowledge that you don't have to explain your worth. The more you stop explaining yourself, the more you start respecting your own choices and boundaries. You begin to understand that your time and energy are precious, and it's okay to reserve them for the things that truly matter to you. So, trust yourself, live your truth, and stop explaining, because you don't need to. Seeking approval can often lead to self-doubt and loss of personal power. It is a silent but powerful force that creeps into our minds, making us question our worth and our actions. When you constantly seek the approval of others, you begin to lose sight of your own truth and start to rely on external validation to feel good about yourself. This need for approval can erode your confidence and shift your focus away from what truly matters to you, creating a life that is led by the opinions of others rather than your own desires. When you seek approval, you're essentially placing your power in someone else's hands. You're giving away your confidence, your self-assurance, and your ability to make decisions that align with your true self. Instead of trusting your own intuition and making decisions that feel right for you, you start to look to others for reassurance. It's almost as if you're waiting for someone else to tell you you're doing the right thing or you're making the right choice. But here's the thing, no one else can determine what's right for you. Only you have the power to define what's best for your life, your dreams, and your path forward. As you begin to seek approval more often, you may find yourself second, guessing your decisions. Every choice feels like it needs to be validated by someone else. Whether it's a small decision, like what to wear, or a bigger decision, like a career move or personal choice, you find yourself looking to others for confirmation. This constant need for reassurance leads to a cycle of doubt. You start questioning your own judgment, your own instincts, and your own abilities. Over time, this becomes a pattern, a way of living that keeps you dependent on the opinions of others rather than trusting yourself. The more you rely on others' approval, the more you lose touch with your own voice. You start to live for others, not for yourself. You begin to shape your choices based on what others expect or think is right, rather than what truly aligns with your values, desires, and aspirations. This disconnect can leave you feeling unfulfilled, as if you're living a life that isn't entirely yours. And when this happens, it's easy to feel like you're not living authentically. You may feel as though you're playing a role rather than truly being yourself. This need for approval can also affect your self-esteem. When you constantly seek validation from others, your self-worth becomes tied to how others perceive you. If someone approves of your decisions, you feel good about yourself. But when others disapprove, your confidence takes a hit, and you may feel like you're not enough. This constant fluctuation in how you feel about yourself based on others' opinions is exhausting. It's like riding a roller coaster. One minute you feel on top of the world, and the next you feel like you're falling. This pattern can become especially harmful when you're surrounded by people who don't have your best interests at heart. Some people may offer approval as a way to control you, or as a means of making you feel inferior. They may manipulate you by dangling their approval in front of you, making you feel like you need to earn it. Over time, this can create a toxic environment where you feel like you're never good enough, no matter how hard you try. And in these situations, the need for approval becomes even more dangerous because it starts to interfere with your personal growth, your independence, and your ability to stand up for yourself. At the core of it, the need for approval comes from a fear of rejection and a fear of not being accepted. We all have this inherent desire to be liked, to belong, and to be seen as valuable. However, the moment we allow our need for approval to dictate our actions, we begin to live a life based on fear rather than courage. We stop taking risks, we stop following our true passions, and we stop trusting our own abilities. Instead, we begin to follow a path of least resistance, the one that others have set for us. And in doing so, we lose our sense of self. When you stop seeking approval, you begin to reclaim your personal power. You start to trust yourself again. You stop allowing others to dictate how you should feel about yourself or what choices you should make. Instead, you recognize that your decisions are yours to make, and you embrace them with confidence. You stop second-guessing yourself and begin to live more authentically. You let go of the fear of rejection and the need for validation, and you start making decisions that feel right for you. Stop seeking validation from others and focus on understanding yourself. In a world where external opinions seem to matter more than ever, it's easy to get caught up in the cycle of seeking approval from others. We constantly look for validation from our family, friends, colleagues, and even strangers. We want to be seen, heard, and understood. But in doing so, we often lose sight of what truly matters, understanding and validating ourselves. The truth is, validation from others is fleeting. No matter how much we crave it, it will never fully fill the void inside. The only validation that truly counts is the validation you give yourself. When you stop seeking validation from external sources, you begin to focus on your own needs, your own desires, and your own purpose. When you constantly look to others for approval, you start to shape your life around their expectations, their opinions, and their standards. You begin to live in a way that pleases others, not yourself. The choices you make, the decisions you take, and the path you follow all become influenced by what you think others will approve of. But here's the problem. Other people's opinions are often based on their own experiences, beliefs, and biases, not yours. What someone else thinks is right for them may not be right for you. Their standards are not your standards. Their expectations are not your purpose, and when you shape your life based on the validation of others, you run the risk of living someone else's life, not your own. The more you seek validation from others, the more you rely on their approval to feel good about yourself. You begin to feel that your worth is tied to how others perceive you. If people approve of you, you feel good. If they criticize you, you feel bad. This cycle creates a life of emotional highs and lows, where your self-worth is constantly in flux, depending on what others think. This is a dangerous trap because it makes you dependent on the approval of others to feel okay about yourself. You are no longer the sole authority on your own worth. Others are, and the problem with this is that people's opinions are not always reliable or consistent. What someone approves of today, they may disapprove of tomorrow, and when you base your self-worth on this ever-changing approval, you are left feeling insecure, uncertain, and anxious. Instead of seeking validation from others, focus on understanding yourself. Take time to reflect on your values, your desires, and your dreams. Learn to trust your intuition and your inner wisdom. Understand that your thoughts, your actions, and your decisions are valid simply because they are yours. When you begin to validate yourself, you stop relying on others to define your worth. You become the authority of your own life. This shift from seeking external approval to self-validation is incredibly powerful. It's about recognizing that you do not need anyone else to tell you that you are worthy, capable, or deserving. You already know this because you've learned to understand yourself, your strengths, and your potential. The process of understanding yourself is not an overnight journey, but it's one of the most important journeys you can undertake. It requires introspection, self-reflection, and a willingness to look within. It requires you to embrace who you are, flaws and all, and to love yourself unconditionally. This doesn't mean that you don't value the opinions of others, or that you don't accept constructive feedback. It simply means that you no longer base your sense of worth on what others think. You learn to differentiate between feedback that helps you grow and approval seeking that drains your energy. As you stop seeking validation from others, you start to reclaim your personal power. You become more authentic in your actions because you are no longer trying to fit into someone else's mold. You begin to make decisions based on your own needs, desires, and values. You follow your own path because you trust that it is the right one for you. You stop second-guessing yourself and start acting with confidence and clarity. This shift doesn't just change how you see yourself, it also changes how you interact with the world. When you stop seeking validation, you stop living for the approval of others. Instead, you start living for yourself, and that's when true freedom begins. Other people's opinions of you are not your concern. We live in a world where it is almost impossible to escape the opinions of others. Whether it's your family, friends, colleagues, or even strangers on social media, everyone has something to say about who you are, what you should do, and how you should live your life. But here's the reality. Their opinions are just that, opinions. They are not facts. They are not truths. And they do not define you. The moment you realize that other people's views of you are not your concern, you free yourself from the burden of constantly seeking validation, approval, or acceptance from others. You start to live on your terms, not based on someone else's judgment. One of the most liberating things you can do for yourself is to accept that not everyone will understand or agree with your choices, and that's okay. In fact, it's necessary. If you're constantly trying to please everyone and make sure everyone approves of your decisions, you'll end up living a life of constant compromise. You'll mold yourself to fit into the boxes that other people have created for you, and you'll lose sight of your true self. Everyone has their own perspective, shaped by their own experiences, beliefs, and biases. Just because someone doesn't agree with you doesn't mean they are right, and it certainly doesn't mean you have to change to meet their expectations. When you start to care less about what other people think, you begin to see things more clearly. You realize that your life is yours to live, and you are the only one who truly understands your desires, your needs, and your vision. Everyone else's opinions are based on their own limited understanding of who you are and what you want. They may see the surface, but they don't see the depth of your experiences, the complexities of your thoughts, or the uniqueness of your journey. Their opinion of you is shaped by what they think they know, not by the whole story. By allowing yourself to be free from the weight of other people's opinions, you open the door to living more authentically. You stop pretending to be someone you're not in order to gain approval. You stop filtering your thoughts and actions to fit the mold that others have placed you in. Instead, you embrace who you are, without apology. You start making decisions based on what feels right for you, not on what others expect or desire. This is when you begin to live a life of integrity, one where your actions align with your values, and your choices reflect your true self. It's important to remember that other people's opinions are often more about them than about you. People judge others based on their own beliefs, experiences, and insecurities. When someone criticizes you or judges your actions, it often says more about their own perceptions and fears than it does about your worth or capabilities. It's a reflection of their understanding of the world, not yours. When you stop taking their opinions personally, you stop giving them power over you. You stop internalizing their judgments, and you stop letting their thoughts dictate your actions. In many cases, people's opinions are fleeting. Today, they may have something to say about you, but tomorrow they might forget all about it. The problem is that when you let someone else's opinion define you, it lingers with you much longer than it should. It becomes a weight you carry with you, affecting your decisions and your confidence. You start to question your choices and your worth, all because someone else had an opinion. But when you let go of the need to seek approval or care about what others think, you begin to release that weight. You stop carrying their judgments around with you, and you make space for your own thoughts, your own dreams, and your own growth. The truth is, you cannot control what others think of you. No matter how hard you try, you can't change their perspective or make them see you the way you want them to. But you can control how much you let their opinions affect you. You can decide not to internalize their judgments, not to let their thoughts define your value. By doing so, you free yourself from unnecessary stress and self-doubt. You empower yourself to live your life on your terms, without the constant pressure of trying to meet someone else's expectations. When you stop caring about other people's opinions, you give yourself permission to be yourself. You stop being weighed down by the expectations and judgments of others, and you start living with more confidence and self-assurance. You make choices based on what feels right for you, not based on what will make others happy. This is the freedom that comes with embracing your authentic self, and it is a freedom that is worth seeking. Empowerment comes from living with confidence and integrity, not explanations. In a world where we are constantly bombarded with the opinions of others, there is a power in choosing to live authentically, without the need for constant explanations or justifications. It's easy to fall into the trap of explaining ourselves every time we make a decision or take a step that might not be understood by others. But the truth is, the more you explain yourself, the more you give away your personal power. You dilute your own confidence and integrity by continuously seeking approval or trying to make others understand your choices. True empowerment comes from within, and it is cultivated by standing firm in your beliefs, your decisions, and your actions without needing to seek validation or justification from anyone. When you live with integrity, you are true to yourself. You don't bend or change to meet the expectations of others. Instead, you make decisions based on your own values, your own beliefs, and your own sense of what is right. Integrity is about being honest with yourself and others, even when it's difficult. It's about following through on your word, keeping your promises, and living in alignment with your values. This sense of inner honesty and alignment is empowering because it gives you a deep sense of purpose and self-respect. You know who you are, and you know what you stand for. And when you have that level of self-awareness, you don't need to explain yourself to anyone. Your actions speak for themselves. Living with confidence means trusting in your abilities, your decisions, and your vision for your life. It means knowing that you are capable of handling whatever challenges come your way, and that your choices are worthy of respect. Confidence is not about being perfect or never making mistakes. It's about having the courage to follow your own path, regardless of what others might think or say. Confidence comes from knowing that you have the power to shape your own life, and that you are worthy of success, happiness, and fulfillment, just as you are. When you live with this kind of confidence, you no longer feel the need to explain your actions or decisions. You know that you don't need anyone else's approval to live your truth. The more you stand firm in your confidence and integrity, the less you feel the need to explain yourself. You stop trying to make others understand why you are doing what you're doing, or why you believe what you believe. Instead, you simply live your life with conviction, trusting that your actions and your choices are valid, even if others don't understand them. You stop doubting yourself and questioning your decisions based on the reactions of others. You trust that, as long as you are true to yourself, you are on the right path. When you stop explaining yourself, you also stop draining your energy. Every time you explain yourself or justify your decisions, you are giving away your power. You are investing energy into something that doesn't serve you, seeking approval from others. This energy is better spent on things that matter to you, like your growth, your goals, and your dreams. When you live with confidence and integrity, you begin to understand that your time and energy are too valuable to waste. You realize that constantly explaining yourself or seeking approval is not worth the cost to your well-being and peace of mind. Instead, you start to focus on what brings you joy, what fulfills you, and what aligns with your vision for your life. Living with integrity also means being accountable to yourself, not to others. You don't need to explain why you make certain decisions or how you choose to live your life. You are the only one who needs to be satisfied with your choices. And when you are at peace with the decisions you make, there is no need to seek validation from anyone else. Your integrity will shine through in everything you do, and it will attract the right people into your life, people who respect you for who you are, not for who they think you should be. Confidence and integrity are like magnets that draw others to you, but they also act as a shield. People who understand your worth will support you, while those who don't will fall away. This process of elimination frees you from the weight of seeking approval or trying to explain yourself. When you live with integrity and confidence, you no longer feel the need to justify your choices to anyone, because you know that your actions speak for themselves. You become the architect of your own life, guided by your inner compass and not swayed by the opinions of others. You find strength in knowing that you don't need anyone else's approval to be who you are. Respect your own decisions and boundaries. In a world that constantly demands our attention and approval, it's easy to lose sight of our own needs, desires, and limits. We often prioritize the needs and wants of others over our own, trying to please everyone, or seeking validation and acceptance. But the truth is, respecting your own decisions and boundaries is essential for creating a life that feels fulfilling and aligned with your values. When you respect yourself enough to set clear boundaries and make decisions based on what is best for you, you are taking control of your life. You are no longer letting the world dictate how you should live or how you should feel. Instead, you are choosing to live authentically and with purpose, according to what feels right for you. Your decisions are a reflection of your values, your priorities, and your understanding of what is important to you. When you respect your own decisions, you acknowledge that you have the right to choose what's best for yourself. Whether it's a small decision, like how you spend your time, or a big decision, like the career path you take, your choices matter. They are yours to make, and they should be respected by you first, and then by others. It's easy to second-guess yourself, especially when faced with the pressure of others' opinions. But when you respect your own decisions, you stand firm in them. You trust that you made the best choice with the information you had, and you trust that you are capable of handling whatever comes next. Boundaries, just like decisions, are a vital part of respecting yourself. Setting clear boundaries is not about being rigid or inflexible. It's about protecting your mental, emotional, and physical well-being. It's about knowing where you begin and where others end. Boundaries help you define what is acceptable and what is not in your relationships, your work, and your personal life. When you respect your own boundaries, you are honoring your own needs. You are saying that your well-being is just as important as anyone else's. It's a way of saying no when necessary and yes when it aligns with your values and priorities. Setting boundaries is not always easy, especially if you've spent a lifetime trying to please others or avoid conflict. It can feel uncomfortable at first, especially when you're used to saying yes to everyone else's requests and demands. But the more you practice setting boundaries, the more you realize that it's not about rejecting others. It's about creating a space where you can thrive. Respecting your boundaries means taking responsibility for your own well-being and not relying on others to dictate how you should feel or what you should do. It means protecting your time, your energy, and your peace of mind. When you respect your own decisions and boundaries, you give yourself the space to grow, to heal, and to become the person you were always meant to be. You stop living in reaction to others and start living in response to your own inner guidance. You stop making decisions based on fear of judgment or rejection, and you start making them based on what aligns with your authentic self. It's a powerful shift. It's a shift from living for others to living for yourself. And in that shift, you find the freedom to pursue your passions, your dreams, and your life's purpose without feeling like you have to apologize or explain yourself. Respecting your own decisions and boundaries also means being compassionate with yourself. It means recognizing that you are not perfect and that it's okay to make mistakes or change your mind. It means allowing yourself the space to grow and evolve without judgment. When you respect yourself, you recognize that you are worthy of love, care, and understanding, regardless of your flaws or imperfections. You stop holding yourself to impossible standards, and you start accepting yourself as you are, with all your strengths and weaknesses. As you begin to respect your own decisions and boundaries, you will notice a shift in the way others treat you. People will start to respect you more because you respect yourself. Your relationships will become healthier, more balanced, and more fulfilling because you are no longer overextending yourself or compromising your own needs. You will attract people who understand and value your boundaries and who respect your decisions. This is the beauty of self-respect. When you honor your own decisions and boundaries, you create a life that is grounded in self-awareness, self-love, and personal empowerment. You stop seeking validation from others and start living in alignment with your truth, and that's where true freedom lies. Your energy is valuable. Don't waste it justifying your choices. Every moment you spend justifying your actions to others is a moment you are taking away from yourself. We often find ourselves in situations where we feel compelled to explain, defend, or validate our choices. But in doing so, we are often wasting precious energy that could be better spent elsewhere. Our time and energy are two of the most valuable resources we have, yet so many of us choose to squander them trying to gain approval, explain our intentions, or make others understand us. But the truth is, you don't need to prove yourself to anyone. Your choices, your decisions, and your life are yours to live, and they are not for anyone else to validate. When we constantly justify ourselves, we are essentially allowing others to take up space in our minds. Instead of focusing on what we want or need, we start focusing on what others think or expect from us. This mental shift can be draining. It's like you're giving a part of your energy to someone else, and the more you give away, the less you have left for yourself. You start to feel mentally and emotionally exhausted, like you're constantly running on empty. You're so focused on explaining yourself that you forget to nurture your own thoughts and dreams. You're trying to control something that you can't, the way others perceive you, instead of focusing on what's in your control, your actions, your mindset, and your own growth. Justifying yourself also ties into a deeper need for external validation. When you feel the need to explain or defend your actions, you're hoping that someone will give you approval or recognition. You want someone to tell you that what you're doing is right or acceptable. But the reality is, no amount of validation from others can give you the satisfaction that comes from being at peace with yourself. Seeking external validation only perpetuates the cycle of dependence. You're relying on others to fill you up, but no one can truly fill you in a way that makes you feel whole. True peace comes from within, and it comes from the knowledge that you are making the best choices for yourself, regardless of what others think. When you stop justifying yourself, you start reclaiming your energy. You stop pouring your time and thoughts into worrying about what others think or how they perceive your actions. Instead, you start to focus on what really matters: your own goals, your own journey, and your own growth. Your energy is precious, and once you realize that, you begin to value it more. You begin to understand that your time and attention are yours to give, and you get to choose where to invest them. So why waste them on trying to make others understand you, when you could be investing that energy into your own personal development, your passions, or your dreams? It's easy to fall into the trap of justifying yourself, because it often feels like the right thing to do. You don't want to disappoint others, or you don't want to seem selfish or inconsiderate, but constantly justifying your choices to others can make you feel small. It makes you feel like your decisions are only valid if someone else approves of them. This can create a constant cycle of self-doubt. You begin to wonder if what you're doing is really the right thing, or if others know better. It's as if you're always waiting for permission to live your own life. But the reality is, you don't need permission from anyone else. You are the one who knows what's best for you. And by stopping the constant need for justification, you free yourself from that mental weight. What's more, the more you justify yourself, the more you open the door for others to challenge you. When you continuously explain your actions, you're inviting others to question your decisions, your beliefs, and your values. And while healthy conversation and feedback can be valuable, constantly defending yourself sets a precedent that allows others to invade your personal space. You begin to feel like you're constantly on the defensive, which only serves to drain your energy further. You end up in a position where you're explaining yourself so much that you lose sight of your original purpose. By choosing not to justify yourself, you stop giving away your energy to others. Instead, you choose to conserve it for your own growth. You stop focusing on external approval and start focusing on internal satisfaction. You start to prioritize your own well-being and your own happiness over the need to make others comfortable with your choices. And in doing so, you find more peace, more clarity, and more strength to continue on your path. Your energy becomes a tool for your own success, rather than something you're constantly giving away to others.